CNN's Fred Pleitgen is the first Western journalist to enter Iran since this latest conflict with Israel began. He's there with our Claudia Otto. He attended a massive protest in Tehran where protesters chanted "Death to America, death to Israel." Fred has more from Tehran.
Massive crowds have turned out here in central Tehran to protest against...
I don't get it. Why are they not welcoming America and Israel bombs as liberators? So strange. There's only two reasons. There's two different ways that consent is manufactured here. Either saying these guys are all violent, scary, hate America, and they say death to America, and that is a way to create permission and manufacture consent for bombing, or by saying, oh, people actually really want American bombs to come in. Both are still like people want the regime to go away, and people want and people welcome the Israeli bombing campaign. Those are the two different ways that these guys manufacture consent. Isn't it crazy? CNN is allowed in Tehran, but Al Jazeera is not allowed in Tel Aviv. A protest in Tehran, not against the Iranian government, but Israel and America. Ain't that something? Are they supposed to cheer and celebrate Israel and America sending rockets their way? Media blackout in Israel, but Western media is broadcasting from Iran. Iran doesn't want to be another Palestine. Those are the ones who can protest without repression. Someone says death is sweeter than honey. That just shows how much people love their country. Iran has a right to defend itself.
Israel strikes against Iran, but also against the policies of the Trump administration as well. Many of them were chanting death to America, were chanting death to Israel. We saw them burn American flags and burn Israeli flags.
Punch the United States.
By the way, the burning of the Israeli flag alongside the American flag once again shows that these actions are not conducted through pure animosity towards Jews or anti-Semitism. But that's a whole different line of logical thinking that many Americans refuse to arrive at.
It's an Israel in the mouth, he says.
I read about Iranian Jews the other day. Western sanctions created an economy in which they have insufficient wealth to obtain housing in literally any other place, especially Israeli rent. Also said Western sanctions have resulted in the inability for Jewish Iranian scholars, engineers, etc. to practice their profession. So most of them work in textile shops, etc. A Western imposed brain drain, just like the early days of Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Trump, you are threatening my leader, this woman says. Don't you know my nation believes death is sweeter than honey? What do you have, Israel? He says. You have nothing. You are occupiers, unreligious. You're killing people, killing women. You kill everyone. You're terrorists.
So you can see that anger here being voiced by many of the folks who are walking here in this protest, whereas the Iranian government has said that as long as the Israelis continue their bombing campaign of sites here in Iran, there will be Iranian missiles flying towards
my dude with the trap star. Look.
Their bombing campaign of sites here in Iran.
He got the trap star. He got that shit on, dude. Hey, yo. Will
be Iranian missiles flying towards Israeli territory. They're calling on President Trump to try and end this direct confrontation. Otherwise, they say, there could be a direct military...
Iranian Gen Z hates the regime. Iranian Gen Z today. It's so funny how ass mad people get when they see like Iranians disrespect the American flag, or when the Houthis or anyone in Yemen really lights the Israeli flag on fire alongside the American flag, and I laugh at that. And people were making a big deal about that. They're like, they hate us. It's like, yeah, of course they hate us, you fucking idiot. Killing their families. Why would they ever like it? Would you like them? You hate them. They haven't done shit to you and you still hate them. At least they have a good reason to hate us. Our government, especially. Not our culture, not our cultural output, not our media, but they hate our governments. And of course they hate our governments. We're killing them. You hate them. They haven't done shit to you and you hate them. But you can't even fucking comprehend how our bombing and our destabilization might cause some resentment in the goddamn region. Stupid.
Confrontation between Iran and the United States. The Iranians say it's not something they want, but they also say it's something that they're ready for. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Tehran.
Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stavridis joins me now. Admiral, first of all, what do you make of a protest like that in Iran? Obviously, the Iranian government wants to see people.
Hasan, CNN and other Western media only show protests of the super regime aligned people. Look at the crowd. It's all women who are super covered in black and all that. These are not the regular Iranians. These are hardline Islamic Republic supporters. First of all, it's ridiculous to say that there aren't hardline Islamic Republic supporters that are regular Iranians. They are regular Iranians. There are, however, also secular Iranians as well. They are not going to be flying the placard of the Ayatollah, but they still share that same resentment and hostility toward, understandable enmity towards Israel and America. I think people forget that, like, you're wrong on this, Hasan. Oh my God. Oh my God. Israel has already killed 600 plus Iranians and severely injured 2,000 plus in the last week of bombing. Why the fuck would anyone, unless they are the most reactionary psychopaths, actually think this is fine? Please stop treating people like they are a different organism just because they're in Iran. There are certainly people who hate the Islamic Republic still to this day. There are. Why do they hate the regime? Because the regime has been brutal to them. It's been repressive to them. It might have even jailed or tortured or killed their family members. Okay, now Israel is doing that with bombs. The reason for not liking the Ayatollah or the Islamic Republic is born out of the violence that they've experienced under the Ayatollah and the Islamic Republic. Once there is a foreign entity, one that has already caused instability in the country in the past, comes in and is now officially more violent, at least right now, then of course people are going to that more. It's that simple. I don't like the American government. If someone deployed a nuke on America, if a significantly more powerful country that doesn't even exist right now, but if a significantly more powerful country deployed a nuke and wiped out the I don't know, southern states or something, I think a lot of Americans, myself included, would be a little disturbed by that, don't you think? Americans, of course, can never understand this. That's the reason why, in this analogy, I always have to use an alien force as a as a substitute, because there is, as it stands, no country that has the capacity to be a dominant force, a force that has already destabilized America, a force that continues to destabilize America and can just use technology and technological superiority over America to just like wipe out half the population. And I know that Chatter wasn't saying that that Chatter was defending Israel's bombing campaign. They're just saying that CNN is purposely showing the minority position of hardline Islamic Republic supporters that negatively paints Iranians. But no, it's not necessarily a minority position either. The anti-America position and the anti-Israel position is not the minority position, is what I'm saying. I know the smoke alarm is going on. My dad is cooking, as always.
We're seeing diplomatic efforts going underway in Europe between European foreign ministers and Iran. Do you put much stock in that? Do you think those are important?
I think they are. Certainly the three primary actors in the drama at the moment are Iran, Israel, and the United States. But there are two other nexi of power that I think are important to keep in mind. One is Europe and the Europeans, hence the importance of these talks in Geneva. Let's face it, Europe, the second largest economy in the world after the United States collectively, stands to lose an awful lot economically. They're within range of Iranian missiles. They have a real stake in what's unfolding here. And I think they could nudge the United States toward a diplomatic solution.
No.
The other pair that we don't talk about much are Russia and China, both of whom regard Iran as an important client state, and both have tools they can use to try and push toward a diplomatic solution. So let's hope all of that pressure collectively somehow moves this toward a diplomatic solution, although at the moment it looks more like military action ahead to me.
If the U.S.'s role, if there is going to be one, a military role in offensive operations, is to target and use their the weapons only they have against this Fordo facility. Does that actually meet the military objectives of Israel, the elimination of Iran's nuclear facilities? Because there's obviously concern that over what we may not know, where enriched plutonium may have been moved to. These things are moved around with some regularity. There could be sites that we are unaware of, that Israel is unaware of as well, without actually having forces on the ground inspecting these sites. Can you really be sure Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed?
We got to do boots on the ground military warfare instead.
You cannot be. And this is what you and I are old enough to remember Don Rumsfeld. He used to talk about known unknowns. And that's what you're describing.
Yeah. Using Donald Rumsfeld's very famous quote, not as a negative, but instead as a positive way to advocate for yet another failure of foreign policy, is incredible. This is the liberal outlet, by the way. Chatters, we are talking about the liberal outlet CNN.
Iran's a huge country, 2.5 times the size of Texas, mountainous. It has a population of 90 million. There's an awful lot of space that Iran could use, and they have a lot of resources in terms of population. So at the end of the day, a single bunker-busting bomb would be a feel-good moment. I think it would be a successful mission. But those known unknowns of, are there other programs? What would the response be of Iran lashing back? Would they try to close the Strait of Hormuz? Would they attack U.S. forces in the region? There are many known unknowns that ought to mitigate.
Yeah, this is an argument against American involvement. If it's going to be a spectacular failure, unless it's a long, drawn-out, boots-on-the-ground invasion, which will end America 100%.
Against this strike, at least until we've given diplomacy further opportunity.
Yeah, and of course the unknown is one bunker buster bomb enough? Would it take multiple? Would that even work? These have not been used in a situation like this. Admiral,
Israel's defense minister said this morning he's ordered attacks on, quote, symbols of the regime in Iran. He said one of Israel's goals is to destabilize Iran's religious leadership. Holly Williams is near the Iranian border, where she spoke to a group that wants to topple the regime. Holly, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. Israel's military says that overnight, more than 50 of its fighter jets flew non-stop over Iran's capital, Tehran, hitting nuclear-related locations and missile production sites. We are now more than a week into this war, and Iran's air defense systems are in tatters.
Is it possible that the Iranian regime could collapse because of this conflict?
Yeah. The regime is weakening.
Kawsa Fatahi is a leader in one of Iran's outlawed opposition parties, living in exile across the border in Iraq. Her group represents the Kurdish ethnic minority. Iran's government considers them a terrorist organization.
Oh my God. Tatters, Western propaganda in full swing? No, but this was Chris Hedges' assessment as well, that the Iranian anti-air defenses have been depleted, and the very fact that they can do 50 bombing missions overnight implies that they are infinitely more vulnerable. Like, they're putting their launchers in an infinitely more vulnerable predicament, because the moment that they launch, if Israel is close enough, they can just like hit the launchers and eliminate even more launchers. This is probably the reason why the number of missiles launched in the salvos have diminished. Also, Westerners love using Kurds as a point of propaganda. It's their favorite thing to do. However, while the number of missiles that are sent in these barrages have decreased, their hit rate has obviously increased as a consequence of this, because they're, I think, using more advanced missiles now, as opposed to the previous stock that they were deploying. But I think Israel's best defense is a strong offense strategy here, which of course can only be conducted with complete Western support, refuelers, complete access over Syrian airspace to make the distance to Iran. All of that amounts to diminishing the anti-air missile systems of Iran. I'm not a missile autist by any means, as you guys know. So these are enormous areas. 50 planes is basically nothing. No, 50 planes is not nothing. Don't be crazy. Being able to strike 50 times overnight implies that your anti-air your anti-air capabilities have diminished. They're also talking about striking Tehran too. You can only do that because you have successfully destroyed a decent chunk of the anti-air capabilities that Iran has. Like, that is air supremacy. I'm sorry to report. Regardless of how large Iran is, the launchers themselves are mobile, which is why they're harder to target. Israel's initial claims are that there were like 100 launchers and they've eradicated like a third of the launchers. Having said that, they still clearly have impactful strikes. Iran does.
They want to topple the Iranian regime, and Fattahi told us American airstrikes might help that. But she does not want Israel or the US to engineer regime change.
We don't want their boots on the ground, obviously.
You want to rebuild your country yourselves. You don't want America to do it for you.
We don't want a made-up state.
Iran's supreme leader says any US military intervention will be met with irreparable damage. US military bases in this region are possible targets for retaliation, along with roughly 40,000 American troops here in the Middle East.
Iran's foreign minister said in an online post that his country still wants a diplomatic solution. He also said that Iran has never sought nuclear weapons, though just this month the UN's nuclear watchdog declared Iran in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. Gail.
Holly Williams, along the Iran border, we thank you.